Is everybody set? Thumbs up. All right, guys. We'll introduce Dr. Horton first. Thank you very much. Dr. Horton.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and coming out to hear our conversation about culture and climate and safety in our schools, specifically a little bit about the incident that occurred last week. I want to just share that, most importantly, this incident that occurred is unfortunate, and we value our staff and our teachers, and we also value our students, and we want to make sure that all parties who step into our school are safe. But I will also say that we will not allow this moment to define this hardworking staff here at MLK. We won't allow it to define this leader who's worked hard and diligent to do a lot of great things, which you're going to hear about today. And as our district collectively, there's been a lot of work around culture and climate. I'm going to share some of those things with you today, just to know what we're doing in the district, and then you'll hear how it's matriculated to the MLK community. We are currently sitting here in DeKalb County School District, and DeKalb County School District is a district that has been designed and been running a structure of a suburban community. And we know we got rural, suburban, and urban, and every one of those different types of communities have different challenges. And so we are running a suburban school district, but we have urban problems. We have students who have challenges at home. We have communities that face some hard times, and oftentimes it spills over into our schools. We're dealing with a mental health crisis across our country. And so when we talk about the adults and the teachers who've been leading and teaching our students, sometimes we become dysregulated. Sometimes we think about the pressure and the challenge of supporting and teaching tomorrow's future. It comes with a lot of responsibility. And so in that incident that occurred, there are things that I can't share today that I would honestly tell you that, to be honest, this was not as cut and dry as what the video showed. There were some things that, as a system, that we could have done better. But collectively, we are working with other organizations. We have a high mobility rate, and we have students that transfer in within 3 to 4 weeks, and we don't have everything we need for them to really know what their challenges are. It puts us in a bind. And that's an ownership that we're going to put, as me as a superintendent, I'm going to own that. We're going to own that in our partners with our other school districts when we're looking for information, and we're trying to identify what are the triggers, what are some of the things that these students face. So those 3 individuals who were involved in that incident, there's a story behind each and every one of those young men, and they are not criminals, and we should not be criminalizing them. There was an incident that occurred, and to be honest, there's more to it than meets the eye. And then also for our staff, we got to make sure that when we have staff members who are experiencing some challenges, that we get them what they need. That may be a break. There may be some other things around resources and access to some mental health supports. It could be a lot. And when you get individuals who are at their wits' ends with challenges of the day-to-day grind of teaching and leading and coming into school and working and learning and engaging and dealing with the community challenges, it's the perfect storm for an incident like that. But I will say this, in our district, in our attempts, what we've done is almost remarkable over the last couple of years. I don't know if you all are aware about our initiatives around our restorative practices. We have almost 400 staff members across the district trained in restorative. We looked at some data yesterday. We are changing culture around our district as a whole on how we look at discipline. We've also done some things with de-escalation. We're training staff in de-escalation. De-escalation, how do you bring down highly dysregulated students? And also, how do you bring down highly dysregulated adults from time to time? It happens, we're human. And then I would also say we've got what we call face advocates. Face advocates are these individual positions that we've designed. We're in year 2. And these face advocates are responsible for taking your most highly dysregulated students in all of your school. We have about 45 of them, and we have 2 at this school that service about 24 students. Many people think when you hear about DeKalb County schools that we have this high percentage of students that are highly dysregulated. Well, less than 3% of our students are highly dysregulated. And so we're able to capitalize on that with the design of our face advocates. And so these face advocates service these 12 students. They serve as a mentor. They work with them as individuals. They work with the staff, and they work with their families. And I wouldn't be speaking to it if I didn't have some good information and data to share. This current year, and across the district, with our 45 face advocates, 66% of our mentees, which are the students that receive the services, have 0 referrals. and I will remind you that these are students who typically got into the program because they were receiving suspensions at a high rate. 66% not one referral this year. 19% only received one referral this year. So we're on to something. And we know that, and we train our FACE advocates. They come from the community. They look like our students. They connect with our students. They're trained in restorative. They're trained in de-escalation. They're trained in bullying prevention, and it is working. We have them here at MLK, and it's working. But again, that incident occurred, that student had been with us less than a month. We didn't have an opportunity to put that student with a FACE advocate. We had just got the student. And so it's time that, times like this that we gotta reflect and say, does that moment define our culture in our district? Does it define the culture in our schools? It does not. And so the other piece here, I'm gonna say this is really exciting. After 1 year of implementing FACE advocates, restorative practices, and these other supports that we put in place, from FY23 to FY24, we had 2,000 less suspensions across the district. Those suspensions lead to attendance. We had an increase in our attendance. To date, this school year, we have around 4,400 less suspensions than we had last school year. So we are really digging into the hearts and the minds of our students and making sure we touch them and build relationships. And we're not viewing this as incidents are not going to occur because they're happening all across the country. But I know when we have it in the school and we have staff that feel unsafe and we have students that feel unsafe, I felt it was important that we address it. We've also put security aids in every single one of our elementary schools. We're doing a lot around creating a safer learning environment. We have safe centers. I know a couple of months ago, we celebrated this school, this very campus, and many of you were here who shared and saw that we have a grocery store for families who have food insecurities in their homes. This is the community that we serve, and we want to make sure that we are owning that. But again, every moment that we have is a moment for us to improve our outcomes and to grow. These are not moments that we look at and say we're failing. I am confident in the leadership team, as you see these individuals standing behind me, our chief of schools, my chief of staff, we have our area superintendents, our chief academic officer, we have our chief of community engagement, our chief of access and opportunity. They're here because we are doing a lot of work to make sure that the families get what they need. And so before I turn it over to Mr. Alexander, who's gonna talk about MLK specifically, I just wanna say to you all, and when we take these questions, just know we're coming from a place of improvement. We know that it's not a simple solution to right the ship, but this school is about 24 years old, and it's had a significant amount of leaders over time, and I really believe that we're onto something here at MLK. So I'm gonna turn it over to our principal, Mr. Michael Alexander.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Alexander, principal here at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. High School. This is my 4th year here at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. High School, but I want to take a moment to be able to talk about leadership. We want to acknowledge and take full accountability for the incident that occurred at our school on last week. During that particular incident, we made sure that we were able to communicate appropriately with our community, share with our community that the incident occurred. We acknowledged it. We work with the district office to be able to ensure that the safety of the building, the safety of staff and the community, as well as students for the previous day, that was addressed. But I don't want to just focus on that particular incident because, as you know, that's an ongoing incident and I can't really go into the details, but I want to talk about the 4 years here at MLK and the work that my faculty and staff has done. I think in many cases, we focus on an incident and how the incident went viral, but you don't focus on the work that's going behind over the 4 years. And so the individuals that are sitting in classrooms now, the individuals that are testing right now for EOC testing, basically kind of telling their story. It's about 145 staff members here in this building. These staff members, they come to this building each and every day. This is not work that is easy work. You have to want to do this work. You have to want to get up. As a leader, I'm excited to get up out my bed to come here each and every day. This is the work that I've done for 20 years, 10 years as a principal, 7 years in DeKalb. And I want to talk about some of the data that has occurred under the leadership of myself as well as the people that are in this building. When we start looking at attendance rates, our attendance rates are at an all-time high this particular school year, where we're right now trending at about 85 to 86%. When we start thinking about graduation rate, we're on target to have the highest graduation rate in the school's history this school year. I don't want to give a data point or a number because graduation rates, they change from day to day, but we're on target to have the highest graduation rate in the school's history. Over the past 2 years, we've had the highest graduate rate in the past 14 years of MLK High School. When we start looking at AP offerings, giving our kids access to other offerings. We went from 1 AP offering for when I got here to 9 offered at this current time frame at the school year, at this school. And then when we start looking at discipline data, our discipline data, we're down 215 plus incidents at this particular time from last school year. And when you start looking at the trends, we're constantly increasing. And so those are data points, but then we want to also address some of the things that we're doing in the school. As you know, you were here, many of you were here about 2 months ago where we've opened the Good or Alliance Den grocery store, as Dr. Horton talked about. And that's a grocery store that we're able to provide wraparound support to the community. We're able to provide food to the community. We feed the community once a month through a partnership with the Atlanta Food Bank. The third Thursday of every month, we have families that pull up to our bus lane and we pack them with food. And so we're doing wraparound support here at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. High School. We are an IB school and a 3DE school. And so our students be able to receive that IB world education as well as the 3DE where they're able to go out and partner with some of our corporate partners and present to be able to ensure that they're prepared for college and career. In addition to, we increased our female sports participation rate by 40%. We are a PBIS school. And as Dr. Horton stated, we have a safe center here to be able to provide wraparound supports, mentorships, as well as just additional wraparound partnerships. So we touch base with different partners within the community, and those partners are able to feed through our safe center, and they're able to support our students. Now, do I think that we're where we need to be as a school? Definitely not. I think we still have a lot of work to do, but I'm right here. I get up every morning and I'm 100% eager to be able to continue to embark on this work. I think we have to leverage some of the community partnerships. Right now, after the incident occurred, we've been receiving a lot of requests from the community to be able to engage in the school. We welcome the community to be able to come in, to be able to meet with us. We're going to start a safety committee. And so that safety committee is going to be where MLK as well as community partners, we're going to meet monthly. We're going to talk about things that are happening at the school, things that are happening in the community. I think that you need to be able to understand that things that happen in the community impact the school building. Things that happen in the community impact the school building. If something happens in the community, it's going to come and it's going to pour into the school. Over my 4 years here at MLK High School, I've lost 9 students. And I've lost 9 students due to homicide. And so what happens in the community it impacts the school building. So what we have to do is we have to continue to be able to provide support to our school community. And that means having partnerships with faith-based organizations, having partnerships with recreation centers and community organizations, coming in and let's have that dialogue. Continue to partnership with leaders such as the school districts, the chiefs, having those conversations, telling them what we need. This is what we need at MLK. I would say throughout this incident, I've had constant communication with our great leader, Dr. Horton. I've had constant communication with him and his team. I've met with him. We've probably had about 3 or 4 conversations over the phone, text message communication to be able to share, like, this is what I'm thinking, this is what he's thinking, this is how we need to move forward in this particular arena. And so I want to thank him for his leadership as well. I want to thank the chiefs because I'm always having communications with Champion Dillard. Chief Sauce was over here just the day of the incident having a conversation with me about special ed as well as EL. Mr. Palmer reached out on the day of the incident having conversations with me as well. And so it's a lot of wraparound supports happening. Again, it's an unfortunate incident. We take full accountability as the leader of the building. Got pretty big shoulders here. And so because I have these large shoulders, I don't have a problem of taking full accountability as it relates to what happened. Dr. Horton always uses a term of students don't fail, systems fail. And so I always go back to that term that he used, students don't fail, systems fail. And so we have to look at our systems. Over the last several days, we've been looking at systems. What could have been done differently? What system that we need to go in and make an adjustment to as it relates to the systems and the structures. And so we're looking at systems. We're having conversations with district leadership, and we're moving forward in a positive way. Again, we take full ownership and accountability for the action that occurred within this school building. But we have done a lot of great work in this school building, and I don't want to minimize the work that's happening with the faculty and staff based off of one incident. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Dr. Horton, there is a mic right there. If you'd like to. Guys, we'll open the floor for questions right now. Just raise your hand. Dr. Horton, recognize.
Yes, ma'am.
There is obviously a lot of accountability being taken on this this stage, there's also a lot of empathy for the students and teachers involved, a lot of pride for the work that's being done. I'm curious what conversations have been had with the student body here on campus, and what are you hearing from them? How are they feeling in this moment?
We've had town hall meetings with every grade level. We started with our ninth grade town hall because the individuals that were impacted were ninth grade students. Through the town hall conversations, we led in a structure that we currently use at the school, which is called community circles, which is an extension of restorative practice that Dr. Horton talked about. And so every week on Mondays, that's during second period, we have community circles. And so during this week's community circle, we talked about mob mentality. And basically, we looked at what mob mentality is. We asked questions about mob mentality, allowed the students to be able to talk about how they feel about mob mentality. When it comes down to the conversations that were had in those town hall meetings, do the students feel safe in the building? Yes. Do the staff feel safe in the building? Yes. We felt like this was a somewhat of an isolated incident that occurred. It's not saying that, like I say, the accountability is here, but at the end of the day, the students feel safe. The students feel that they have the ear to lead, the ear of leadership. They have the ear of the district. And so we're continuing to have these dialogue and these conversations. We have our seniors this afternoon. We have our 11th graders tomorrow and our 10th graders on Thursday. And these are conversations that are held here in this auditorium. I'm leading the conversation with my grade level administrator, and we're talking and we're having conversation and we're being transparent. No, we're not discussing the incident at all because we can't, because it's an open incident, but we're talking about mob mentality and talking about things that could potentially align to an incident like this.
Yes, ma'am.
We were talking about mob mentality, and then the cell phones being there and capturing the whole thing, and you see people behind the cell phone almost cheering this on. I know there's been talk about what to do about cell phones. Can you talk about the role that plays?
Yes, I'm going to call up Dr. Logan, who leads our cell phone. We launched a campaign called Disconnect to Reconnect this year. I'm giving my mic. And MLK was actually one of the schools, so we're going to talk about what has transpired with that. And then
Good morning. So Disconnect to Reconnect is our district-wide initiative aimed to disconnect students from their cell phone and re-engage them in learning. MLK has been one of our pilot schools this year, and they have showed tremendous progress and gains on having students disconnect from their phones. This was a very unfortunate incident. However, the vast majority of his students are disconnected from their phones. They're focusing more, they're paying attention, and we capture this data during monthly walkthroughs to buildings, talking to teachers, talking to administrators, and talking to students. And students are saying they feel more engaged in instruction, they feel more engaged connecting to their peers, and that is evident when we walk the hallways of MLK. This was a very unfortunate incident. However, the vast majority of students in this building have disconnected from their phones during the school day.
Yes, we are a disconnect to reconnect school. I would say probably about 85% of our population is aligned to the disconnect, reconnect. Being able to have the pouches each and every day. Kids remember to bring their pouches each and every day. I think that's some of the things that we have to think about as we kind of move forward with that particular initiative, because they are students. Sometimes they leave them, sometimes they don't bring them, and so you have to be able to have systems and structures in place for that. In addition to the disconnect to reconnect, we also have seen an increased number of students who have tried to kind of go around that initiative, and they try to use iPads. I have a communication that I communicate every day to the students. iPads are used for instructional uses only, meaning that they only should be used in the classroom. If you don't have a Chromebook, they should only be used for instructional uses only. They shouldn't be used for social media. They shouldn't be used for other video recording or communicating with someone. They only should be used for the instructional uses only. And so as Dr. Logan and as Dr. Horton stated, we've seen tremendous progress with disconnect to reconnect. And so we're going to continue to work to be able to ensure that 85% moves to 100% moving forward.
And behind that disconnect, that cell phone question, we have some really good data around what's happening when it's implemented with fidelity. It started early, and what we learned, the pouches are kind of like consumables. So once students figure out that they can lose it or damage it and not work. So it was a pilot year. Our board approved the pilot, and so now we'll be transitioning next year to a whole different plan around potential cell phone lockers exclusive across the district. And we're still working currently with a committee to make that decision. But that incident was an example of what happens not just when you're trying to implement a new program, but also that we had that student, the main, had only been in our district for a month. So culturally, right, as I'm thinking as a superintendent, how do we make sure, because we're a very transient community, how do we make sure that when we're transferring all the different students in and out of our districts, how can we support them to make sure that they matriculate into our culture with much ease and a clear understanding of what our expectations are? And I think that is part of that. I'm thinking about this with our team as we move forward, because it's happening. Kids move, families move, they have to, but we just can't sit back and say, well, we'll wait till they get acclimated. We have to do something a lot sooner to get them there.
Can you speak a little more about the investigation? I know the students have been charged with battery. I assume they're suspended. If you could just clarify a little bit about the timeline, what goes into the investigation, when we could see the final decision made with the teacher, and we see what's
I'll say this: it's an investigation right now, and so because they are minors, it's a process. Timeline will depend on whatever goes into that investigation. So looking at history, right? Looking at the incident itself, the engagement of the adults in that situation. There are a lot of factors. As you saw in the video, there are multiple students that's in the hallway. There are other adults. So all those interviews, right, must be done, and we must put that together collectively in order to make a decision on what happens with that. So we have our employee relations involved, and also we have our discipline team involved in that as well.
Is that teacher still on administrative leave, and are they trained in how to handle situations like that?
I'll answer the second part first. We are working currently to get our teachers trained in de-escalation tactics, verbal de-escalation, and that's a very expensive training, right? And I won't say it's new, because most of the time we train our special education teachers in CPI, and they get the verbal de-escalation and also the physical. We're trying to get a structure where we can train them in the actual verbal, because it started out verbal. And trying to lift that, and then until the investigation is finalized, the staff will be on paid administrative leave until we close out the investigation.
You also mentioned how there might have been an opportunity to identify trigger points, how there's a story behind each young man involved. How many students are at this school, and is it too aspirational to say that you'd be able to identify a trigger point in every student here before something like this happens again?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because I'm referring to when students transfer in, right? We have a window in which we collect until we can get all the information that comes with that student, and I'll leave it at that. There's incidents or resources or services that they may need that we may not have access to. And so when I speak to that, I think that's a conversation that we have to have more as educators in K-12 districts, period, making sure that the next district get information sooner so that we can adjust. Again, you transfer a student in, you don't know what that history is until you can get that the full registration packet. And so that is one of the challenges that we faced regarding this matter. And then I would just say, to your larger question, our team, we've been doing a lot of training. This is why restorative is really critical. Some of our teachers use these circles at the beginning of all their classes. It's a heat check, right? To really know, you may have some of your best students that had a terrible incident at home. They coming in different today. So we're just trying to find strategies to make sure that students can express themselves, and most importantly, more than anything, without a program or anything, we want to be sure that every student in our school has a trusted adult that they can talk to, right, when things are not going well. And that is, as you stated, it's challenging, but that is a goal of ours. If they have at least one trusted adult that they can connect with, which is why FACE advocates has been so important for us here in our district now, because those 12 that they serve, they know they have that one trusted adult that they can connect with, and probably more. But it takes time, and we're building that culture. I go back to what I said earlier. If you go 45, 50 years ago, I'll just add this: there were cows and chickens in DeKalb County. We're a rural community, right? Whether you want to own it or not. But when we look at the design of the schools, it was a K-7 model, right? And then it was 8 through 12. But in the 80s or early 90s, they dropped middle schools in. We shifted to a suburban style model, right? Start building more homes. But the culture around how you manage and support a suburban school community versus an urban, which we are serving urban students and urban families, is a little different. And so we're in a transition period here in DeKalb County Schools as we're putting supports in place to support the urban students that we have.
Obviously, we've seen the video, which is probably showing the worst of the worst, but can you speak a little more about what led up to this incident? That's the question we're all wondering. What was going on before that
That was an exchange in words, an exchange between the young man and the student. Where there was separation, not physical, but it didn't get physical. There was an exchange, and then a few minutes later, it escalated to something different. Yes, we are.
Dr. Horton, you stated at the beginning of this conversation, these men are not criminals, and you do not want them to be criminalized. As far as the charges against them go, do you support that? And if not, how are you supporting them?
I'm gonna be honest. From what I know, like what I know as the superintendent regarding the situation, I don't support them being criminalized. I do not. Every student deserves an opportunity, right? And I would say there are some factors that we are aware of that did not, that could have prevented this, and so we're looking into that right now. Yeah. You mean the 4,000 that for the district? Yes. So were you here earlier? Right. So you heard me speak about the restorative practices, the FACE advocates, the reduction. So if you think about, you have only 2.9% of our students are highly dysregulated, meaning get frequent flyers on suspensions. So those students are now, the bulk of them are serving with a FACE advocate. And those FACE advocates are doing mentoring during the day with those students, making connections with them around decision making, connecting with their teachers, connecting with their family. So it's not just working with the student alone, it's a triangulation of those three bodies. And so those FACE advocates, a number that's really powerful, 66% of our FACE mentees, these are students who are receiving support from FACE advocates, has 0 referrals this year. So it really goes to show if our students can touch and connect with an adult that they trust, and we treat them as such, and we give them what they need from the mental health aspect, you get a different outcome, I should say. You can't control it all, right? But we're making a significant difference in how we're connecting. So those reductions are coming strictly from us changing the system as adults and how we look at students and supporting them in ways that can help them improve their behavior.
I can speak to that a little bit as well. For MLK specifically, we are a PBIS school, so we have PBIS monthly activities. Students bring in your yonder power, students who do not have attendance issues, who students or maybe being tardy to class, a student who has not had a discipline referral, then you're able to participate in these particular activities that we have on a monthly basis. We have student support team meetings. I have a weekly student support team meeting where I meet with the discipline team. We look at the early warning indicators, early warning indicator data, and then from looking at the early warning indicator data, we may meet and bring a parent in to be able to address a specific student who may have a early warning indicator that we have determined that needs to be looked at. Action plans are put in place for those particular students, and then we're able to support those students based off of the action plan. And then lastly, we talked about community circles. It's intentional to have a community circle on Monday, because we don't know if a kid didn't eat over the weekend. We don't know if a kid has witnessed trauma over the weekend. And because of that, to be able to have that community circle on the front of the school day, you're able to maybe to deter a situation from occurring, because you can be able to kind of just take the temperature of the students. And as Dr. Horton stated, that student has that contact with that adult. And so if anything normally occurs within the building, that second period teacher is the teacher that normally gets a lot of information and brings it to administration.
And PBI stands for Positive Behavior Intervention Support, just for those who are interested, if you didn't know what that meant.
Dr. Horton, we've got a question.
Yeah, the third generation of teachers is using to kind of propose a bill that would suggest that parents be punished for acts of absent teachers. Would they be held accountable with community service or fines or crash jail time? Is that something that you think would be appropriate to respond to?
I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I really believe that we have a responsibility. Like when we signed up to serve as educators, we know what it comes with. And I think there are some incidents that occur that are to the extreme that may require some of those things. But overall, as a proponent for that, I would say we have to make sure that our schools, and I think the state of Georgia is doing a good job with providing us resources around safety and trying to help us get funds around mental health as well. And we're pouring into our educators. We have to do school differently. The days, those golden days of where you could tell a student to sit down and they sit down, that's not the case anymore. And that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's just that how we approach how we approach our students, we have to treat them as human and be humanized in our approach with everything that we do. This is about touching hearts first and building relationships and connecting. And if you do that right, and I've worked in some of the most challenging, most dangerous communities in this country, and I've never had a situation where I felt like it was a parent that couldn't handle, that it was their fault. It was something that we did, that we were able to structurally support and address.
At the end of this, time for 2 more questions. Does anyone not ask a question that has one further? If not, Allie, go ahead.
Sorry. You use the term dysregulated a lot to describe various students. That term can just come across a bit academic, so for the greater viewing public, how do you define and use that?
These are students are typically who may not be connecting, emotionally charged, not necessarily being connected to the environment that they're in, and maybe in some cases not wanting to be in the space, or in many cases with our students, maybe being challenged academically and being embarrassed by that, and so they typically rebel, and I would say in the simplest term, acting out.
Last question. Anybody?
Yeah, your teachers, I mean, I saw the video and I said, ooh, that's a tough job. I don't know that. What you said to the teachers after they see something?
We have a community circle with my teachers as well. And so I have a structure that I've been using since I've been here where we have Monday circle. And so Monday circle, basically I called a circle with my staff to be able to address them, to be able to ensure if they had any questions for me. It's an opportunity for them to not only get things off their chest, but it's also an opportunity to maybe highlight and raise something up. And so that's a practice that happens every week here at the school. And so anytime we may have something to occur or things that we maybe need to address, we go into that Monday circle mode.
And can I say one more thing? Ms. Alexander, when is your half cap ceremony?
Half cap is on May 13th.
May 13th. So we have half cap ceremony. So if you really want to see the culture of the school around the greatness that's happened, it's an event where we take our sophomores, so getting into their junior year, and we celebrate them. Family summit. It's a huge event. We're having it at every single high school, but May 13th. Please, if you want to come by and check it out, we would invite you. And you can get it from our team, Chief Diller, if you want to know what other dates. It's an amazing opportunity. And those same students that we're talking about are really continue to move forward in their academic career. So thank you all for being here today and spending time with us.